Hey guys, it's Jakub here, Arturia's product specialist. I am here in Store DJ in Melbourne to show you a few cool tricks with MiniFreak and MiniFreak V that you might not have heard of before. Let's dive in. Okay, so the first trick is custom shaped LFOs. And basically this trick allows you to create custom LFO shapes which go beyond the usual waveform shapes in LFO1 and LFO2. So to get started with this, we use the wave control found in the LFO section. After all the waveform shapes, we find the LFO wave shaper mode. And then to start drawing our shapes, we simply press Shift and then we press the select button. All right, so once inside, you see the screen informing you that you are in the shaper mode. And from now on, you can draw your shapes by using the 16 sequencer buttons plus the 2 stripes on the left. So to do that, simply press the step and wiggle the slider up or down, and then continue with all the steps like this. Let's see what we got now. And from now on, you can easily disable some steps to create different rhythmic feelings. So for example, we can get rid of the few steps by simply pressing them, like in this case. Let's see what we have now. All right, and another thing that you can do here is to use the second slider to change the curve of certain steps. So to do that, you simply press the step and use the stripe to go up and down to create either exponential or linear curve for some of the steps. So let's do that for the step number 2, step number 8, and maybe 13. And let's see what we have now. On top of that, you can also define shapes with those 4 available here on the right side. So for example, we can change the last step in our shaper and make it ramp up instead of ramp down. So to do that, I simply choose this shape and then draw it like this again. And maybe we can also change some other steps to introduce ramp up. Let's see what we have now. Alright, so as you could see, the custom LFO shapes allow you to really create some original shapes that go beyond the usual shapes available in the LFO 1 and 2. Alright, so the second trick relies on using the macro sliders that will allow us to transform the sound instantly from one state to another. So basically the macros allow you to modulate up to 4 parameters per macro to transform the sound instantly. To start using the macros, we have to enter the macro edit mode. To do that, we have to press the Shift button and the macros button. Once we do so, we see on the screen that we are in the macro edit mode, and now we are ready to assign both of these macros to the parameters that we want to target. So to start targeting the parameters with the macros, we simply press one slider or the second slider, and then once we press the slider, we just wiggle the parameters that we want to target. So in my case, it will be the wave, timbre, and shape parameters for macro number 1 from the oscillator number 1. And we can, at the same time, add the value by simply increasing the control. So it's going to be wave 1, timbre 1, and shape parameter. And now when we exit the mode, we can see how the sound will be transformed. All right, so this is the original shape of the sound. And now we can hear what happens to the sound once we add the macro that control those 3 parameters of the engine number 1. Okay, so that was macro number 1. Now we can enter the macro mode again and use another slider to target more parameters. So for that, we will go to the oscillator number 2, and again, we will target wave, timbre, and shape parameters. And for the wave parameter, we'll add the negative modulation, and we'll add the positive modulation for timbre and shape. And here we will also target the volume parameter of the oscillator number 2, which means that as I will be playing, the addition of the second macro will introduce the second oscillator, because so far it has not been used because it was set to 0. So let's introduce that, exit the macro edit mode, and see what we have. With the addition of the first macro as well. So as you could hear and see, this is a really great way to instantly change the tone and timbre of your sound within a few seconds, and it's a really great performative tool as well. Alright, so the last trick is really cool because it allows you to create generative self-playing melodies, and this can be achieved by using some cool features found in the arpeggiator and also in the spice and dice section. So let's get into it. Okay, so to get started, first off, what we want to do is to turn on the ARP. So without the ARP, the sound is like this. And to activate the ARP, simply press the ARP button and continue with inputting some notes. Also, we want to press the hold button so the notes are held, freeing our hands to do other stuff with parameters. Alright, so the modes of the ARP are really interesting. The first ones allow you to change the playback direction. So now the pattern is going up, it can go down, up or down, but it can also be randomized, like in this case. We can also use the order mode, which plays back the notes in order. On top of that, we have the octave ranges, so we can extend the octave range to 2 octaves. Also, there are some interesting features at the end. The ARP repeat allows you to repeat the notes included in the pattern. There is also the ratchet. And at the end, there is the function called random octave, which basically takes individual notes from the pattern and changes its octaves randomly. Like this, and also the mutate, which deconstructs the sequence each time we press the button. On top of these functions, we can use the spice and dice mode, which basically randomizes the sequence by changing the length of the notes as well as the octave range of these. So the first slider allows you to shorten the length of the notes, while second adds the spice, which is basically the amount of the randomizations that you are adding. You can also generate new spice patterns by pressing Shift and the spice button. So once you put it all together, here's how it can sound. tricks with MiniFreak that I do love to use in my own productions, and I encourage you to use them on your own as well. If you want to check it out, visit Store DJ and get your hands on it as soon as possible. Thank you guys for watching. See you next time.